Hello guys, so taking on from where we stopped in the last video, we'll be adding some extra features to our loan application. So this is where we stopped in the last class. We have our navigation bar right here showing the loaner, the request loan, the profile and the transactions, as well as the login and sign up button, which I said we would dynamically show over time. Then we have the user profile component that displays the name and the user's balance. Then we have the request loan and the withdrawals loan. Then we have the loan history itself, all of this right here. So this is what we'll be creating today. The features we'll be adding to it. We'll work on our login screen. We'll work on our login screen as well as the sign up screen. So then we'll work on the loan application window and the withdrawals window. So as well, we have the profiles page as well. All right, so like an implementation of all these things that we're adding at the moment, that we'll be adding in a moment, is this. So for instance, when I click on my login here, it takes me to the login page, and when I click on the sign up, you can see we're now in the sign up page. You can see the part of that, the URL part is changing. So you can see this is a multi-step form. Then going back to the home page, when we click on our request new loan, we have a modal like this, a pop-up that shows what we want to request, the amount we want to request, as well as the withdrawals form that gives us a pop-up like this. So yeah, so that'll be it for this video. So let's jump right on it. Okay, this is where we stopped in the last video. I think the code is still very much intact, and the first thing that we'll be working on in this video is creating our sign up and login, our sign up and login screen. So in order to do that, because there will need to be a kind of routing in between. For example, let's look at our Loaner++. You can see the URL at the moment, but when we click on the login, you can see it changes to a different path, and when we click on sign up, it changes to a different path. So there is a package that allows us to do that in React. And okay, let me turn this off for a moment. Okay, so that's clear. Alright, so the package that allows us to do this is the React router DOM. So npm install React router DOM. Right, so it shouldn't take long before you get it installed. So once it's installed, you will see it right in our package.json as one of the dependencies. Okay, so let me split the window into two. I'll prefer to have this here. Okay, and alright, so we have these two screens. Alright, so I'm gonna pause the video, and once it installs React router DOM, we'll continue from there. Alright, so we have our package installed already. If you go right inside of your Visual Studio Code, you would see we have our React router DOM right there. Okay, so in order to proceed, let's go right inside of our layout, and let's make a bit of changes to our layout. Alright, so we are going to create a folder right inside of our layout. Let's call it authentication or auth. I think we're good with auth. Okay, so right inside of our hot here, we are going to, like, create our login.js. all right, and let's create our sign up. We'll be working on them in a bit. Signup.js. all right, so in order to clean up this entire part, let's group our application, let's group our components in different folders so that it looks cleaner. all right, so since our header, this particular header that we have here, is going to be shared across multiple components, let's have it under a file folder called general common. Let's call it common. all right, so inside of our common, let's move our header inside the common folder. all right, so let's move it. all right, so then we have the loan history and the user .js. so we can work on that by moving both the loan history and the user, by moving both into a folder. Let's call it main. all right, so we are moving both our loan history and users into main. all right, so we have it this way, and then we have our app.js. okay, we have our app. Let's clear this, our app.js as well. Why we need to like clear our app.js is because we just want is because we inside of our app.js we want to manage the routing as against having all of these components right here. We want to manage the routing inside of our app.js. Don't forget what we're trying to do. We're trying to work such that when we click on our login button, it takes us to the login page and the sign up page respectively if we click on their buttons. all right, so in order to make that, to clear out our application, let's do something by creating a new file. Let's call it main.js. all right, so we're creating a new file called main.js. so, and we're our RFC, just like RFC, and tab to generate the boilerplate. okay, so let's do it this way. From our common folder, import header from layout and common. That's where we're bringing our header from. Then let's import our user from our layout and main user. all right, then let's import our loan history from main as well. okay, layout, and we have our main, then loan history. all right, so do not forget that we need our fragment imported. so let's import fragment. so we're trying to like structure this file to fit to properly arrange it so that it fits like it's more easy to like go through the file, to look at and just group the files together instead of having to clutter up our app.js. so we're going to like reduce what we have inside here to the routing itself, and we do all of other things that we're doing inside of the app.js at the moment, we do it inside the main.js. all right, so let's have our fragment. okay, and we have the header, we have the user, and we have the loan history. all right, so we have it like so. So let's save it, and let's go inside of our app.js and import our main.js. all right, so instead of all of these that we have right here, we can now remove this, and we can remove this, and we can import our main from the dot main, and we can render our main right here, main. Okay. Alright, so if we were to save this and run it at the moment, npm start, we would get similar result to what we have at the moment. It shouldn't be different. Okay, so we can close this up. Alright. So it shouldn't take long to update, but so far we shouldn't be getting any error. And what we just did in the fraction of a minute or from now was that we changed the location of our files. All of these that we have inside the main.js originally present in the app.js. So by grouping the files, so we grouped the loan history and the user.js inside of the main folder, and the common, which is the header, because we also be using the header inside of the login page and the sign up page. So that's why we created a different directory for the common component, which is the header right here. And inside of the authentication folder, we have the login and the sign up. All right, so we have our application and it's still working as it should. So right inside of the app.js here, okay, do not forget we just installed a package called React Router DOM. So let's import, and what we're trying to import in this case is a hash router. All right, and we're doing that from our React Router DOM. All right, so let's save that for a moment, and let's go inside of our authentication, this our login page, and let's just create something, a boilerplate for a moment. RFC. All right, and let's say this is our login page, just for a moment. So let's head back inside of our main.js and let's import our login page. So let's say okay, another thing that we need to do is to import our app.css from okay, we can leave it here for a moment. Let's just go on. So all right, let's inside of our app.js, okay, let's import. We have okay, app.css is working. Okay, it's right here. All right, so let's import login from alright, from layout and authentication, then login. Alright, so that's where login is coming from. So instead of adding our login page directly into this by passing like, okay, we have our login component here like this is not what we're trying to do. We're trying to like create routes here. What we mean by that is that when the in this situation, when I click on the login, you can see it takes me to the login page of this particular application. So that is what we're trying to like do inside of our loaner application. So how do we achieve that? So we've brought in our hash router here, hash router as, let's call it as router. As is just like a name we want to like call it instead of calling it hash router every single time. So there are other routers inside of the React Router DOM, like the browser route, but we're localizing the scope of this class, to hash router. So let's import our router. Let's import route, and let's import our switch. Switch is what houses all of the routes available, like inside of that. It's going to house all of the routes available inside the app.js. Okay, so inside of our return statement, let's wrap it with our hash router, which we're importing as router. Do not forget, it's hash router, but we imported it as router. Okay, so now instead of passing our component main directly to this, we are going to pass it as a route. Okay, as a route with a path name. Okay, our home page is going to have, you know, the initial, which is empty, just a slash, and the component we are passing to it now is going to be our main component. So unlike just returning the main component like this, okay, so we are embedding it inside of the route. So meaning that depending on the route that the user is present at, render this particular component. All right, so then we also have another route. All right, so this route, the path, in this case, the path is our authentication, auth, and login. So the component we are looking at here is our login component. All right, so for specifics, let's add our exact component, which is more like to enforce the particular route, to save the system from confusion, something like that. All right, so exact, is that correct? Exact. All right, so now that we have our route, okay, we're going to wrap this our route inside our switch statement. Switch component. Imported, all of these are imported from our React router. Okay, so if we were to save this, you would notice that we still get the same thing displayed to us, except for the fact that we have this our hash displaying. Even if you try removing the hash symbol, can you see? We always have the hash symbol there, and it's because like every other route that we define would be after this auth.login. So if you go to like our /auth/login now, you can see it takes us to this particular page that we created here. We said login is this is a login page. So if we were to change this to this is a login page, and save, we have that here as well. Yeah, you can see. All right, so so if we have this working, let's work on our login page. So let's create our login page properly, and in order to do so, let's remove all of this inside of our login page, and let's return. We have our brackets opened. So back to our requirement, as you can see on the login page, we need the phone numbers and the password. So that is the main thing that we need inside of the login, inside of the login screen, the phone number and the password. So let's import inside of our login screen. We also want to have the header there, so let's import from the common. So import header from our command, and we're bringing in header. So, and in order to render multiples together, we need to bring in our fragment. Alright, so inside of our return statement, we have the fragment, and the first thing we want to display is the header. Alright, just closing tag like that. So now, let's create a container for our login. So let's give it a class name of container. Okay, let's say, if we're to say hello, for instance, you can see we have something like this on our log. This is our login route. Don't forget, you can see it on the screen. Hot login. Okay, so let's style it better. It's too close to the our MT5. It's too close up there. Alright, so let's create our form, and so let's have an H3. What a class name of text center. Let's call it login. So, and let's create a div with a class name of form group. Form group. Right, so inside of this, let's have a label, and let's call it phone number. Right, and let's have an input. So this input is a type of text, and let's give it a placeholder of enter phone number and a class name of form control, and that's from Bootstrap right there. So if we were to save this, this is what we have at the moment. Okay, so so let's just copy this down, and we have this as password. Okay, type is password, and let's give it a placeholder of enter password. Class name of form control as well. And alright, so we're to save this, we have something like this. So let's add one more, which is going to be our button. We don't need a label for that, and let's just give it a button element directly. So our button, let's give it a class name of btn, and btn success, and let's make it a block. Right, and the type, let's submit. Okay, so if we're to save this, so this is what we have at the moment. However, to style it properly, we can just give it a bit of shadow. So let's give it a class name of CAD. Right, so CAD body, and let's give it a shadow. Right, so we have this at the moment. So, and we can, you know, just make it a bit more compact by, you know, giving the column XM, and let's give it an offset of 3. So alright, So you can see it's more compact at the it's more compact right there. And also we can just add our forgot password right beneath the button there. So let's give it a p tag with class name text center, just set marginal line, text align to center, and let's have our forgot password. Right, so href set to none at the moment, so click here. So because of the program that we're taking at the moment, let's add a p tag, give it a class name, and alright, so you can just have your copyright whatever here. Alright, so we have so we have this, and yeah, I think that's all for now. So if we were to go back to our home page now and we move to our hot/login, you can see we have this waiting here for us already. So in order to like make it clickable from here, whereby when we click on our login, it takes us to the hot link, we have to go inside of our header, go into our header. So let's return to our header.js, and we have to import link from React Router DOM and pass it to our login button here. Right, so instead of our button, let's just pass the link to it. So we're changing it from button to link, and other things that we might not need is a type, because you know we don't need a type there. So, and for our link we need to specify the path that the link is connecting us to, which in this case it's our login. Alright, so to our hot/login. So if we're to save that and we click on our login now, you would see that it takes us to our authentication page. Alright, so try that again. Click on login, it takes us to our login page. So what is essentially responsible for that is our link element here. You can see that we change it from button to link, and we'll do so for sign up in a moment. Alright, so let's go inside of our sign up. Alright, and let's do the same as well. So I'll be a bit faster inside of our sign up now. So RFC, you know how to do that already. And the things I've been needing, we've been needing the header, so let's import header from our common/header, and we'll be needing fragment as well, do not forget that. So let's bring in fragment, and inside of our return statement, let's call fragment. So do not forget that our sign up page from our previous, it's a multi-step form, right? It's a multi-step form, so that's what we'll be replicating here as well. So just follow me closely to see how we achieve that. All right, so we have our fragment, and we'll have our header, Okay, so let's create a div with a class name container. Let's give the margin top 5, just like we did inside of our login, and let's give it a div class name of container. Oh no, not like we already did define container. So cat and cat body. We have given shadow as well, and let's add a column 6. We're giving it some offset instead of 3. Okay. Alright, so this is our sign up page. So let's save this for a moment and let's run inside our app.js and let's import our sign up page. So import sign up from our layout, the authentication folder, and our sign up right there. So we're going to be passing this as a route as well. So I'm copying my login down here. I'm changing this to sign up, and let's call this register. Right, so if we save that and add into our header file, right, and let's change this to link as well, link, and we don't need a type because it's no longer a button. We're specifying the route that we're linking us to, so an auth / register. Alright, so now if you notice, you'll notice that if we click our sign up button, now it takes us to this is our sign up page. However, we have nothing there at the moment, so this is where we'll be working on, and we'll be creating our multi-step form. So in order to create our multi-step form, we need a bit of state management. What that means is that we need to be able to track the level that the user is at the moment. So is the user at the stage 1, is the user at stage 2, or is the user at stage 3, or depending on how long the form is going to be. So in order to make that possible, we'll be leveraging the React hook useState. So useState allows for management of data during the life cycle of a particular React component. So what I mean by that is, let's do what to import it at the moment. So let's bring in useState from React. useState, right? So we'll be declaring 2 variables, which is, let's create it constant. Let's call it registration stage. Set registration state and set registration stage. Alright, so both of these registration stage and set registration stage will be coming from our useState, and the default value we are passing to this is 1, meaning that the default registration stage value is 1. So the way this particular line 5 works is that we declared a variable called registration stage and we are assigning the value of 1 to it, right? Then set registration stage is a controller for registration stage. It means that set registration stage has the ability to update the value of registration stage, and you'll see that play out in a moment. All right, so inside of our component, let's create a function. Let's call it render registration stage. Okay. Alright, so we'll be using our switch statement, and we'll be passing our registration stage to it, which the default value is 1. So switch, and when the case is 1, do something for us. In this case, return we want to return a form, the first form. Alright, so form, we give it a tag, straight tag with a class name, text center, and let's give it let's give it sign up. Alright, so inside of our div, we give it a class name of form group, like we did earlier inside of login, and we have our label. And do not forget the things we are considering inside of our login. Inside of our sign up, we need the phone numbers, the full name, the password, the date of birth, the state, and the email. Alright, so let's get that. So we have our label with phone number, with our input type text, placeholder, enter phone number, and class name of form control. Do not forget that comes from Bootstrap, form control, and yeah, you can close this right here. So this is not the entire form, but let's save it for a moment. Let's save it, and inside of our form right here, inside of our div here, okay, this is our sign up page. Definitely that's not what we want to like show. Let's call our function. So do not forget the curly braces, and we call the function we define here, which is render's registration stage. Let's call it render registration stage. Okay, let me spell that. Registration stage. Okay, so if we're to save this, you would see that we have something like this at the moment. Okay, so if I were to change the value of this to 2, you'd see that we get nothing inside. So basically, when we change this back to 1, all right, because we said when the case is 1, return this particular form. All right, so what is happening here is that depending on the stage that the user is, okay, what will be rendered inside of the sign up form will be different. So let's move on. We have a phone number. Let's just copy this down. I have this as full name. Let's call it enter full name, or just full name is fine. Full name. Alright, let's copy this down as well, and let's call this password. Type is password. Okay, and enter password. Class name of form control. And there's another thing we need to do again. We need to re-enter the password just to be sure the user is, you know, entering the correct thing. So confirm password, and let's have this as re-enter your password again. Right, and if you check this, so we have something like this: re-enter password. And on the final note, let's have our button. Okay, we're done on the label, and of course we're done on the button as well. So let's call our button. Alright, and let's give it a class name of btn success, and it's a block to take up the entire div length or width, call it length. Alright, so let's have a submit here. Alright, so we have something like this. Okay, and but because it's a multi-step, let's just change our submits to next, since it's a multi-step. Alright, so what we want to do here now is when this button is clicked, let's set the type to, when this button is clicked, on click. Alright, there's something we want to do when this button is clicked. Do something for us when it's clicked, which is set registration stage. Do not forget where set registration stage is coming. Set it to stage 2. This is where it's coming from. I told us earlier that set registration stage has the ability to manipulate the value of registration stage. Alright, so set registration stage to 2. By doing that, when I click on this button now, you can see it's changes this the registration stage value to 2, but there's nothing to display at the moment. So let's come down to our case, and let's say when the case is 2, do something for us. Return let's say form, in this size h3, temporarily let's say stage 2. Alright, so when I click next now, you can see this. Alright, does that make sense to you? I hope it does, because it does to me. But if you have any question about any of these things, so please feel free to comment them in the comment section below. I'll do what to answer to them as soon as possible. Alright, so let's go on. We have our sign up. Alright, let's give it a class name. Class name of text center, and the things we're looking forward to here are just 3 things: the date of birth, the state, and the email. Alright, so temporarily let's use our, so let's just create a div. Let's create a div with a class name, form group. Okay, and with a class name of form group, the first thing we'd like to do is to have a date of birth, and the input, let's give it a type of date, class name, form control. Right, let's just use this at a moment, and we'll have a state of residence. So class name, form group. Right, let's have a label, state or residence. So this is going to be an option, like you'll be able to select. So we're calling our select with a class name of form control. Our option. So let the first one be select state. Select state. Alright, so other options, let's just use Lagos. Open Enugu states. Alright, so we have this 3 right there. I mean, you can add multiple at your own hand, it's fine. So the div, let's have a class name or form group as well. Let's give it a level of email, and we have an input and type this email, and placeholder is enter a valid mail address. So let's give it a class name of form control as well. Form control. So we're to save this. Now when we click next, as you can see, we have something like this here. Alright. Okay, sorry, form. We have a typo error there, form group. Alright. So we have this. So let's have our button there. We need 2 of them, the previous and the confirm, just to finalize everything. Let's create our div with a class name of form group. Okay, let's have 2 buttons there. A button, and we'll have these as okay, previous. We'll go back, and we'll have another as create account. So let's give both of them, a class name. btn success. Alright, but small. Let's make it small. Alright. So you can see we have something like this. So in order to space this out a bit, we can give it a margin left of 2, and this form group we can give it a text center as well. So yeah, we have something like this now. So in order to make this work on the OnClick, let's add it here that when the user clicks on this button, do something for us as well, which is an anonymous function here. Alright, set registration stage back to 1. So when I click on next now, you can see when I click the previous, it takes me back to the step 1. So we've just did this, and this is made possible by the power of, use state. We are manipulating the form depending on the value of registration stage that is made possible through this set registration stage that we're calling inside of our function right here. So moving on, So we have our application working, the login and the sign up, each of them both working well. Alright. So we need to create our request new loan window and our withdrawals window. In order to make that possible, we'll be looking at our Bootstrap models. Okay, let's go to getbootstrap.com, components, and the model. Right, so this is what we are looking at leveraging, the model for Bootstrap. The model for Bootstrap, that is what we're looking forward to leveraging. So in order to make that possible, inside of React, there is a package that makes that easier for us to call on and use, and that is the React Bootstrap the React Bootstrap package. So we are going to be installing our React Bootstrap, so I can hold on this for a moment, and let's call our npm install React Bootstrap B-O-O-T-strap. Alright. So it shouldn't take long. You should have it installed in no time. It shouldn't take long at all. Alright, so let's start our server again, npm start. So right inside of our application. Alright, so let's add on to our loan history, which is where we need it. So let's head on to our loan history. Okay, that's inside of our main loan history.js. Alright, so let's import a modal from React Bootstrap. Alright, so we'll be needing a fragment here as well, because it's we need to contain all of the different components. So fragment, and let's wrap all of this inside a fragment. Okay, so right inside of this fragment, let's create our modal. Okay, and let's show it. So the modal has a header, modal.header. So this modal.header has a button that allows us to close it. So it's like a close button, and we need to pass our title to it. So modal.title inside of the header, and the title would be let's request. We're doing a request new loan first. New loan. Alright, request new loan. So if we were to save this now, and okay, let's add our modal.body just to complete it. Modal.body. Alright, let's just call it empty for now. So if we check our system, you can see we have this empty modal at the moment. Alright, so let's head back. Let's get back to work. So inside of a modal.body, we want to have a div. So this particular div has a h4, and this h4 would be what contains the maximum amount the user can, withdraw at the maximum amount requestable by the user. So hopefully this will be set by the admin on the back end of our application over time. So let's say maximum loan amount. So in this case, let's say 50,000. Alright, to style this properly, let's give it a style. Color is gray, and let's give it a class name of text enter. Alright, so this is what we have at the moment, but our okay, we have a problem here, especially with our modal.header. So it's closing in the wrong space. So our modal.header should close after here. Alright, so this is what we should have. Okay, the modal.header are both modal.header and modal.body are both children of modal, so it shouldn't be inside one another. Okay, so we have the maximum loan amount, it's 50,000, and okay, let's have the other part of the form, which in this case is the amount the user wants to withdraw, right? Or the amount the user wants to apply for. Okay, so let's have let's give it a break tag, and let's have our form here, and div with a class name of form group, and let's give it a label. Loan amount, and impute. Let's give it a placeholder. Enter requests amount. So with a class name of form control, and with a type of number. Okay, so let's close it. Now let's create our button. Div with a class name. Block, and let's have a submit button right there. Submit or request, each of them can work. Alright, so this is what we have at the moment. However, the modal just gets popped up. We cannot remove it. It gets popped up. So in order to allow for dynamic pop-ups to happen, possibly when the user clicks on the button. Okay, we would also be employing the function of useState in this situation again. So let's bring in useState from React. useState, and const, let's call it requests loan Modal open, and let's set request loan Modal open to be equals to useState, and the default is false. Okay, the default is false. Alright, so we have our modal.show, our modal show here, and let's set it, since it's a boolean value that it's expecting, let's set it to our request loan Modal which is going to be false by default. Alright, so when the user clicks on the button request new loan, let's add our OnClick. Alright, we want to call our set request loan Modal open. We want to change the state from being false to true. Okay, so when it's true, do not forget that the show here will also be set to true, meaning that the modal should be displayed. So let's change that so that you can see how it works. Set loan request Modal to true. So if we save this now, when I click on, you can see it's not displaying at the moment, but when I click on request new loan, it gets popped up. Alright, but we still can't remove it from the screen. So how do we do that? Let's quickly write a very simple function here. Constant, let's say close requests loan Modal. So there's a reason why we're writing a function here. It will become very useful later on, because we could easily call our set modal state to the modal state to close just by the OnClick of this button. But I want to wrap it inside of a function itself, because there are other things we'll do with it later on in the class. So set request loan Modal, set it to false. Okay, this means that change it to false. Now inside of our Modal right here, okay, we are passing the argument on hide, which is in charge of managing when the close button is being pressed, or like when outside of the Modal is clicked. Alright, we want to call the function that we created, which is the close request loan Modal function. Alright, and what does the close request loan Modal function does for us? It changes the state of the request loan Modal from true to false. So if we save this now and click on the request new loan, you can see it open. When you click on the button, you can see it gets closed. So that is useState at work right there. So the same is what we're going to be doing for the request for the withdraw funds. So let's check the requirement for the withdrawal funds again. Alright, so for the withdrawal funds, we have the amount the user wants to withdraw and the virtual pay UID, which in this case it's the virtual pay account number that the user wants to withdraw to. So virtual pay is a digital payments network in Nigeria. So with the account number supplied to the platform, like users will be able to like withdraw funds to their wallet available for use, and from there to anywhere they want to put their funds. Alright, so we'll be needing the amount the user wants to withdraw and the virtual pay account number, which is also called unique ID. Alright, so in order to do that, let's create a new modal. Alright, so we have our new modal right there, and let's give it a modal header again, and inside of the header we want a title, and the title is going to be, let's use our h5 tag again, withdraw funds. Alright, so inside of the header, let's add our close button, and we also want to like show this, so let's show it. Alright, so inside of the modal we want the modal.body. Okay, so right inside of this body we want a form, and let's give it a div with a class name, form group. So let's give it a label for the amount, input, placeholder is to enter amount, and the class name is form control, and type is number. Alright, so let's close this, and if we're to save, you can see we have the withdraw funds opened already. Alright, so in order, or let's complete the form by making the virtual pay UID available. So let's just copy this down, virtual pay UID. So the placeholder is enter virtual pay UID, and the class name, okay, it's also, the type is also number. Alright, so we need our button that for withdrawals. Alright, so let's copy this down. We need none of this. Button, class name, BTN, and BTN success, BTN block. Let's withdraw. Alright, so this is what we have at the moment. Alright, but in order to like dynamically prompt this modal, let's create a new one. Let's just copy this down because they are very similar, but instead of request loan, let's have it as withdraw fund. Okay, and alright, withdraw funds. So let's set the show to withdraw fund modal open, which by default is going to be false. And when the user clicks on withdraw funds on click, let's give it as set withdraw fund modal open. Alright, so by saving this now, you can see if we click the request new loan, it gets opened. We can close it. When you click on withdraw funds, okay, set withdraw fund modal. Okay, let's pass through to it. We're missing that. So if we save it, and alright, you can see it gets open, but we cannot close it at the moment. Why? Because we need to change the state back to false. So let's create our const close withdraw font modal. Alright, so set withdraw font modal, we're setting it to false. Okay, so now similarly, just like we did here, we want to pass our onHide to the function close withdraw font modal. Alright, so in this case, when you click on our withdraw fonts, and we can close it, request new loan, and we can close it. So this is essentially what we set out to do in this particular video, and I am glad that you stayed true to the end of this particular video. So if you're here up to this point, it means you found value in this video, and you've learned one or two things. So if that is the case, please do well to click the like button, and you can subscribe to the channel for multiple content that will be coming on later on the channel. So this particular application, this loan application, is an extensive application. We are covering both the front end of the app and the back end of the application. So stay tuned, as more content will be available for you in this particular class and in this particular on this particular application. So thank you very much for joining. And as a personal task, you can see that when we click on the login, we're routed to our login page, and when we click on the sign up, we're routed to our sign up page. I want you to create by yourself the profile link. When I click on the profile, it should take us to a profile page where all of this information can be displayed. Alright, as well as an edit option for the information available. Alright, so the question we also be put in the description below, so do well to check it out. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next.